There were 6 families of us
What date again?
on the 6th of January,
The year?
2006. Tom? Yeah, I think either 2005 or I'm not sure now, love, you know what I mean? But they came in at 4 o'clock in the morning. The police came in first. They turned off all the gas on all these caravans. They're all gas heated. They turned off the gas and turned it back on real fast. So when the gas was turned off, it stopped, and air got in between it caught an air pocket. When it hit the heating back on again, it blew all the heating out of the caravans. All went off of we couldn't put the heating back on no more, and they were all young kids. My grandchild was only 2 months old. And we'd no heating or nothing because we couldn't turn the gas on back because it was all blue. And the police just stood there laughing. Then the bailiffs came in, and it was something like that you see in World War III what they'd done to us. It was brutal. I had a chalet there and they drove a bulldozer straight through it. It is on the CD. If you get Hazel to give it to you, she will give you the CD of it. The chief of police, not the chief of police, the commander of police, Hazel was asking him some questions, and he hit the camera and almost busted her eye in bits. The police got around me in a ring. 2 policemen stood at both sides of me, held my arms, whilst the other policeman standing in front of me kicked the 2 shins out of me. I still have the scars to show what they've done to me.
And which bailiffs were these?
Constant and Co, the same ones as here.
And you say you've seen the same men here working from Constant and Co?
These are all Bosnians and all Polish and all. I'm not being discrimination now, love, you know what I mean? But that's what they are. They're not English. They're all Lucian, you know what I mean? They're working for £5 an hour. It's cheap labour. And when they come into your place, love, they will tell you, no, I don't understand. They'll break your place up and you tell them stop. No, I don't understand. That's what they'll say to you. And Constant and Co will just stand back and let them do that.
Okay, and the eviction you're talking about took place where?
In Borehamwood, Twin Oaks.
Okay, and how many families?
6 families of us. There were 12 families, but some of the families went home do you know what I mean? Over here it was for the Christmas, you know, for a break.
Yeah.
And they came in at 6 o'clock in the morning, 4 o'clock in the morning, sorry. At 4 o'clock in the morning, they would allow no television people in, no newspaper, nothing. They'd allow nothing. And to make it better, we could not make any phone calls. They switched all our phones off. All the phones, we could not get through to no one. All the phones was dead.
Must have been terrifying.
So it goes to show what kind of a eviction it was. It was brutal.
Okay, and what, some of the families hitched up and left? And
Look, let me tell you, I had a 2-month-old grandchild inside in the caravan. My daughter-in-law came out, went down to the police had their own canteen there because they turned off the water and everything that we had. And she asked them for a bottle of hot water to make a bottle for the baby. In a nice way, very simple. Sorry, she said, this water is for our people. But she said it in a very nice way. She was a very nice person, wasn't she? Really, you know, she had a good personality. And when my daughter-in-law went back up to get into the caravan, the baby was crying inside in the caravan. They had a Land Rover hooked onto the caravan and the baby inside screaming to death. And they would not leave the mother back into the caravan.
Terrible, yeah.
So my little boy, Roger, he was about, I think he was about 4-year-old at the time. And 6 months after, you see what the police done to me. For 6 months after, he was getting nightmares over him, waking up in the middle of the night. Daddy, you all right? Where are you, Daddy? For 6 months after, every night he was waking up screaming.
Oh dear, terrible. The children get no counselling, no help after these
Now,
things.
listen, I took all the things out of my home and I put them into, I had a big, not a big shed, you know, like this here now, you know, the back of a lorry, you know, a box, we call it a box. And I had it there. So I put all the things from the chalet into the shed, and they said, okay, it's okay. You come back, and when you come back, everything's okay. When I went back the following morning, love, as I was taken to hospital, when I went back the following morning, everything was burned to the ground.
All your personal things.
Everything was burned to the ground. Going back through the years, at Crown Derby, whatever, you know what I mean? Travelling people believe in this. It was all packed into this shed, and everything was burned to the ground.
Goodness. What about your wife? How did she cope with this?
What could she do? What could we do? There's nothing we could do.
Yeah. How long had you been in Borehamwood?
I was there for 4 years. And the same thing, I went through the same thing again. Trying to get a home for my kids to put them to school, and my grandkids to put them to school. And
So did your kids learn to read and write?
believe it or not, they learn from themselves, love.
Yeah. No.
Every one of them learn from themselves.
And the grandchildren are in school now?
Yeah, they're going to school up here. That's why I put my caravan down there, so they could. I didn't want my kids up here, my grandkids up here, love, because I did not want them to see what we went through. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It was something that you would see if you watched what Hitler was doing to the Jews, the way they were bringing them out of their homes and putting them into cages. That's what the bailiffs was doing to us, and that's what still goes on today. Don't mind them saying, oh, it's a peaceful eviction and this thing. No, maybe this one might be because they got too much media here to see what they're doing. They're doing that, love. That's why they're hated all over the world, all over England.
Do anyone know this guy?
So why do you think Basildon Council picked this particular bailiff, knowing that company
Because
has got this history?
because he's brutal, and Basildon Council is bad for what they're doing to these people. Look, green belt land. They're saying a lovely green field. How can you make a big scrapyard out of a green field? It can't be done. Once there's a scrapyard, since 1964 until they bought the ground here, must be what, 20 years, 30 years of scrapyard?
Yeah.
You can never turn that back into greenbelt land.
No.
It can't be, because the ground is toxicated. Nothing will never grow on it. Over all the aisle, petrol, everything soaking through it. It
Yeah.
can't be turned back into greenbelt land.
And Basildon Council have taken council tax off of all these people.
Every one of them is paying. Every one of them is paying their council tax.
They must be making a lot of money out of this site, providing not many services here.
Yeah, and the mind people saying, oh, they don't pay their taxes, they don't do this, they don't. Listen, if travelling people were settled down, every one of them would pay their taxes. How can they pay their taxes if they're on the road 7 days a week?
Yeah.
Can't do that.
Yeah. Let's hope we have some good news this morning then.
With the help of God, you know.